What's up, guys? Jay with everybitgaming.com, bringing you a video on the HTC Vive. So I've been enjoying the HTC Vive for the past few months, and a common complaint that I get when I show my family and friends is they really feel the HMDs a little bit too front heavy, and they don't like the weight on their cheekbones. So after doing some research on Reddit, I found a couple of people doing mods, and I decided to do one myself. Something I did not find was a lot of tutorials and really a lot of information on the mods themselves other than just some photos and some links. So took a post on Reddit and really just asked you guys what you wanted to see and if you wanted to see this at all. And we got an overwhelming amount of support to make the video. So that's what this is going to be about. So let me go ahead and lay out exactly what the game plan is. So I'm going to be talking about the positives and negatives to this modification. And then we're going to go through the parts list, so everything you need in order to make this modification happen. And then after that, if you decide that you want to go forward and you really want to do this modification, once you got all your parts and everything, I will go ahead and show you guys the step-by-step tutorial. Well, as close to step-by-step as I can because I've already done some permanent things. But so I'm going to do my best as well to kind of give you guys some links to kind of go to the timestamp of when things are taking place so you guys can jump around in the video. That will maybe be in the video, but definitely in the description below, you'll be able to click on a link and jump to these sections. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives and negatives. So here I will hopefully be showing you guys the completed product and showing you guys exactly how this thing works. And let's go over some of the positives first. So first and foremost, the reason we did this, it takes the weight off of the front of your face, right? And most notably with the Velcro straps at the top, you're able to take almost all the weight off of your cheekbones. The really only weight that's going to be there is how much you decide to tighten the back crank, I'll call it. Secondly, it's really easy to take on and off because the knob in the back, it just cranks to tighten and it cranks the other way in order to loosen it. And it's really easy to just take on and off. You don't have to worry about messing with the Velcro straps on the left and the right and the top, just like you do with the original headset. However, if there is a different head shape, there is a adjustable strap at the top in order to change the width of the actual headgear, but that does take some time because there are a couple clips you kind of have to take off and then readjust. But it is possible, so I believe that the headgear does allow for a lot of modification and a lot of adjustments, which is another positive. So you can fit pretty much any kind of head type. The next positive I'm going to talk about is the longevity because of the materials. I haven't had my Vive for long, and I've seen a lot of posts on Reddit of people already having their material fray on this fabric and elastic. So this being a hardened plastic and used for welding masks, I really do think the longevity of this is going to be a bit longer than your traditional Vive headgear. And another really good positive, and I think a lot of people are hesitant because of this mod is non-destructive. So after you do all the modifications, you're not actually doing any permanent damage to anything except the headset you are going to be buying, the headgear you're going to be buying, the hardened plastic one. But the original Vive itself is going to remain completely intact, so there's no destructiveness at all. If you don't like it, then you can just put it back to the way it was and go on with it. So I really think that that's a huge positive. Because a lot of people I think will be willing to try it knowing that. And the last positive I want to talk about is the secure feel. Because this is kind of like a ratchet system, you know, it tightens really easily and there's a lot of adjustments. So I think it feels way more secure than the soft elastic band. And that's just because it's elastic, right? So there's always going to be some give to it and some stretch. So it's not going to be as secure as the hardened plastic with the ratchet crank in the back. So let's go over some of the negatives, which I will hopefully be showing you here in the video. First of all, the side knobs are a little obstructive. I had some really big headphones that I was using, Astro A40s, and with the knobs, it didn't quite fit as well. There are adjustments along the sides of the headgear that allow you to move the knobs forward and back. So if you put that all the way forward, it does allow for it to mostly fit. But if you're using bigger headphones, I'd say that, you know, if you have an alternative option, then that would probably be your best bet if you're wanting to go for the modification. The second negative to me is the cable management on the HMD itself is not great, because there's not really a place to clip it up top. At the end result will be having the cables go on either the left or the right side of the headgear with some small zip ties to kind of hold the cable in place and direct it to the back of your head. It's not terrible, but you know, it's obviously not as good as having the wires centered going through the loop on the original Vive headgear. And probably this is the you know, if you're a cosmetic person or not, then this may or may not be a negative, but you know, it's definitely not as aesthetically pleasing as the original Vive headgear. Okay, so that's it for the positives and negatives. So next, let's go over the part list. With the part list, I'm going to be showing you guys everything that I have on the camera. All the links and information for everything that I have is going to be in the description below, and I may even have some annotations so you guys can kind of click as I go through these so you can see what you need. Okay, so first, you need your Vive. If you don't have this, you shouldn't be in the video. Okay, so that is number one. The second piece of equipment you're going to be needing is the headgear itself. This is a Miller Electric headgear on Amazon. You can find this for $22, as I said, on Amazon. And there is a couple things missing because I have already done the modification. The one on Amazon will have his front strap here with a padded strip. I found that this actually got in the way. So this is the modification that I made and a lot of others that use this headgear made. I just took some pretty strong scissors and cut through the plastic on both sides. That's something you can do right off the bat with no issues. But this is the headgear that we'll be using. Again, $22 on Amazon. Next, we have our 3D printed brackets. So I hope you can see this, but there is a difference. There is a left and a right that will come into play once we're messing around with the actual headset itself. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a 3D printer, and that was me as well. But if you guys don't know, there's a lot of options for 3D printing. So the link to the Thingiverse where I got these brackets will be in the description, as I said, and you can actually order these on Thingiverse for about $10 and they'll ship it to you. But also there's this great website called 3dhubs.com that'll allow you to kind of look around for a 3D printer in your area, and you can get these printed and picked up as well. Now, these aren't the prettiest things in the world because I got these printed for free at my school, and we had some trouble removing the excess plastic. So I'll probably end up getting these replaced at the end of the day. But if you're at a university, then or you have a university by you, then this is potentially something that you can get at your university. But there are a lot of options to get these brackets because, you know, like I said, I didn't have a 3D printer either. So the second thing I will mention is, again, these brackets are available on Thingiverse, but there's also a modded version of this that actually has a tab here at the bottom. It has a little plate and a screw hole so that you can attach some headphones if you wanted to do a headphone mod as well. So I'll put the link to that in the description below if you want the version with the spot for headphones. Next, we have the actual screws and nuts needed to attach the bracket to the HMD itself. These are number 4-40. These are 1/2 inch round top, and they are 1/2 inch, and they fit perfectly with the bracket. So these are the screws you're going to be wanting. I got these from Lowe's, but I know Home Depot has them as well. Again, links to these will be in the description so you can get these exact ones and know that they work. Next thing is going to be some Velcro strips. These don't have the adhesive on the back. I wouldn't recommend getting the adhesive. These are pre-cut. I got basically just some basic Velcro straps at Lowe's as well. You can find these anywhere, so I'm not really gonna give you guys any link to it. But if you want just one strip, because I used two because they were cheaper, but if you want it to look a little bit nicer, look for 1.5 inch wide Velcro strips, and that should help as well. You're gonna need these in order to kind of hold the Vive up a little bit to relieve even more pressure from the cheekbones. So get these Velcro strips. They'll really come in handy. And the last thing is just some small zip ties. I would get essentially the smallest that you can find, because it's gonna make it so that it doesn't obstruct anything. So Velcro strips and zip ties, very common everywhere, are the last pieces that you're going to be needing. All right, guys, welcome to the step-by-step portion of the video. So I'm actually going to start with the HMD as it's originally given to you. So I'm going to go through the process of taking off the straps and the cables and everything. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the cables out and get those out of the way. So a lot of people have figured this out, but I sure couldn't figure it out when I first was looking at this. But if you take your thumbs here at the back and push forward, you'll get a nice little snap, and that will take the top cover off here. So you just slide it forward, and then that's going to actually reveal the cables inside. So use the tabs if you have them, if possible. Now that the wires are unhooked, you're going to want to put them through the plastic first. So if you look at here, go through this top plastic part first. Just go one at a time. And then you're going to go through the actual logo cutout. And there we go. All right, so next is just going to be running them through the back loop. Next step is going to be to remove the side straps. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this, because I feel like the bracket would have been designed a bit differently had they known. But these actually come off relatively easy, and it's really nice for removing the side straps. So what you're going to want to do is take this down to the furthest down position, the hinge, which is about right there, and then just keep rotating them, and you'll get a nice little pop. Maybe it doesn't sound good, people might be cringing, but I've done this several times and it hasn't damaged anything yet. So if you actually look, if you look, there are some obvious holes where this goes. The side little hinges here go on the top and the bottom there. So that'll be useful for when we're reattaching. Okay. So the last part is just to remove the side Velcro straps. Now, it's not possible to mix any of this stuff up because the Vive logo has to go right side up on either side. So you'll know that loop's got to go in the back, Vive logo's up, this is the right. Loop's got to go in the back, Vive logo, this has got to be the left. So don't need to worry about getting them mixed up. Okay. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is set the Vive headset aside. We probably won't be needing this for a while. And then you can also go ahead and set the top cover as well aside. So we're going to talk about, as I said, the modifications have already been done to this. So you usually would have a front piece here, I went ahead and cut it away because it felt like it really interfered with the headset itself. So I would suggest doing that as well. Just take some scissors and cut along the same line here on both sides. You'll see it's exactly the same. And then what you're going to want to do is unscrew both sides. And the actual knob, the rubber washer, and the top, I don't know, other round plastic washer, those are the only pieces that you're going to keep on either side. So the other pieces, which I've already gotten rid of, you can just toss aside. Same thing with the other side. Go ahead and unscrew it and only keep the rubber washer and the other plastic washer. So next, these side adjustments, they actually slide off. So we're going to go ahead and take both of them off. These black, I guess, levers are on the top and the bottom. So just squeeze them and then slide them out. Same thing with the other side, squeeze and slide out. And we can go ahead and set this aside for now. Now again, you don't really got to worry about getting these mixed up because if you look at them, they are actually labeled. This is R and this is L. So as long as they're right side up, you know which side it goes on. So this is right, this is left. Go like this. So now we're going to go ahead and grab our 3D brackets and attach these to the side adjustments of the headgear. So as I mentioned, there is a left and a right. Okay, you're going to want to pick up the left side because there is a difference between the left and the right, and it's definitely easiest to do the left first. So if you take a look at this, there's actually a raised part here. And so the best way to do this is take a look at which way. So this is the left side, and this is how it goes onto the headgear. So when you put a bracket on, it's got to face forward, right? And so this is actually the wrong bracket, or the wrong, the wrong bracket. So it doesn't actually fit because there's a top part here that's actually hollowed out versus the bottom, and that allows for that little notch to fit into the right bracket. So this is hollowed out on the top. It actually needs to be the one that's hollowed out on the bottom. So we'll take this one, and that will fit much better. Okay, so once you're sure you have the right one, kind of center it up. Take the metal washer and not metal washer, the plastic washer and the rubber washer, and a crank, and then go ahead and tighten that down. Okay. There we go, decently straight. And I would go ahead and tighten this down a pretty good amount. The rubber washer will make it so that you can't tighten it, like over tighten it, but just get it to the point where it doesn't slip very easily. I prefer to have it pointed down slightly because it doesn't want to be completely straight most of the time. So I have it pointed down just slightly if you look at it there. And I'll do the same for the other side. And it is pretty difficult to move there. So this is set. Do the same thing for the right side. So again, make sure you don't put this on backwards. So as you see, this says right. So this is how it's going to be on the headgear. So you take the bracket and make sure it's pointed forward. And then do the same thing here. Okay, so there we have it. We have the right side and the left side, and as you can see, the right and left are right side up. So that is how it's going to go on the headgear itself. All right, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is attach these the side brackets from the Vive onto the side brackets from the headgear. So as I mentioned, you have to take a look at them and realize that Vive right side up, Vive right side up. These rings have to go to the back of the Vive. So this is the left, this is the right. So this is the right bracket and this is the left bracket, matching them up accordingly. Okay, so what we're going to do is attach these two together. Again, this is how it's going to go on the headgear, and this is where it attaches to the Vive. So make sure that this is how you are attaching the two together. And the O-ring can slide forward and snap out of its brackets. So do your best to kind of hold it and stop it from doing that. And then just finagle it into the bracket here. It may take a pretty decent amount of force. But once it's all the way in, might not always hear that snap because I didn't hear it some of the other times. But you'll know if you just look at the top and the bottom, the plastic part is actually slid all the way up to that first indent. And same thing on the bottom. It is meeting up against that first indent. So that's when you know it's all the way in. Okay. And then you're going to take your screws and nuts. So there's 2 screws and 2 nuts per side. And then we're going to go ahead and screw these in. So to tighten them up, of course, you can use a wrench, but I don't think this requires a lot of tightening. So I'm just going to use my thumb for pressure. And then just tighten it in until the nut starts spinning. There we go. If you can see, it actually does have some thread going through the both of them at the top. So that should suffice. Okay, so our left hinge is completely done. So we're going to repeat that exact same process for the right one. So now this part was more than likely sped up, but I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Along with the making sure that this is met up here and here. Making sure that the plastic pieces are in that first divot. Make sure that the actual ring is still inside of these loops here. Because I did have a little bit of trouble with that side. I thought it was all the way in, but the ring was actually coming out of these hinges. So that's when you know it's all the way in. Plastic meeting in that first divot, and then the ring completely inside of its socket. All right, and there we have it. Both of the brackets are completed and ready to be reattached to the HMD itself. All right, so in my opinion, this is the more logical next step, is to attach the brackets to the HMD itself first, and then add the headgear on top of it. So as I stated, there are a couple of divots there that fit directly onto these clips, so it'll fit nicely on there, and then just go counterclockwise on that side. Same thing for this side. Make sure it lines up. Twist. And you're back in business. Hinges are attached. Alright, so the next step for me is actually going to be adding the headgear to this. So just as you did when you took this off, you can squeeze these clamps, slide in one side of the headgear, and do the same for the other. Now, if you can see this, there's actually some numbers that indicate where you are. And this dictates how close the headgear is to the HMD. So this gives you another layer of adjustment where you can choose to move the headgear further back or closer to the HMD itself, depending on how you want that comfort to be. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is actually run the wires through the top piece itself, the top cover, and get this attached to the Vive again. So make sure you go through the top of the logo first. And give yourself some slack, and then go through the plastic piece. Okay, so now that we have the wires all the way through, let's go ahead and rewire the HMD. Okay, now we have our top cover. Now if you take a look, there are slots on the side, and they correspond to these slots here. Get this focus. So you're going to want to push this as far forward as you can first until you feel them kind of fall into the slots. Then push back and it should snap right into place. Alright, and finally we are going to attach our two Velcro straps. So I'm going to show you the importance of these Velcro straps. So as of right now, we're pretty much done, right? We have the headgear completely attached, and you know, everything's looking good at this point. However, there's one major problem with this, and there are people that have definitely expressed some concern over it. So if you pick up the headset as it is now, the HMD just wants to fall. And so that is the purpose of the Velcro strips. We're actually going to attach it to this part here, attach them together. Okay, so as I mentioned before, this is about 1.5 inches here. So if you just want one strip, you can go ahead and do that. I just found those pieces of Velcro to be quite a bit more expensive, so I went ahead and went for this route to just have two separate ones. And I usually actually just put a strip here to keep these two together, even though they're not really going anywhere. That's totally optional. But so now, if you'll notice, this is a pretty big difference, because now when you pick it up, the headset stays on, or stays forward, and does not want to go down at all. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is about the final product. The last thing that you're going to want to do is just get some wire management done here. This is something that I still need to get some zip ties, but the best way to do it is just to run it along the side here and attach it to, you know, you have these holes here, so you can go ahead and zip tie those, or whatever method of cable management you want to do, and it'll work on either side as they are completely the same. And I would only just not recommend doing them over here, because this is actually where the crank goes, so don't use those holes at all. But other than that, you should be pretty free to go. But here we go. That is our completed product without the Velcro, or I'm sorry, the zip ties. But there we have it. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. If you have any tips on the wire management, or you have some maybe replacement brackets that you find that kind of gets rid of this Vive part and these screws, because that would probably be the next step to make this a little bit cleaner, let me know about that. But I hope you enjoyed, guys, and thank you so much for watching the video.